I was 18.
Well, that's a very, very early time in your life to
Yes,
realize
it sure
to
was.
respect people.
Oh, no, I was a good boy.
Yeah.
But my buddy and I didn't know what to do after high school, so we got a job in the jail. And first day of training, we didn't really have any training. They just said, if you're held hostage, we're not coming in to get you.
No, they didn't.
Absolutely they did. Freddie Crittenden and I. They said, if you get held hostage, we're not coming in to get you.
Did they give you any tips on not getting held hostage?
No. Here's a ring with 5 keys. 212 opens the main door.
Oh, that's old school.
Hello, this was 1979.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, these weren't automatic doors. These were bars. And I grew up fairly quickly.
Yeah, I bet.
And I went from 159 pounds the first year to about 197 the second year.
All muscle?
Oh, mostly muscle at the YMCA.
Yeah.
And then another 8.5 years after that. The jail was built for 16. Most of the time there was 25 inmates in there.
Oh, wow.
1 guard, no communication. So if you were back in cell 1 and the door was way over here and you were in trouble, you sorted it out.
Using your words.
80% of the time.
Nice. That's great.
And I walked out of there with no psychological issues.
Whatsoever.
Apparently. It was a weird thing because I knew every inch of that jail. You got to learn very quickly how to read inmates because inmates would come in and you had to, within a very short period of time, to the best of your ability, assess that inmate.
Right.
Because you had to know where to put them. You know, if a guy came in and he was fighting with his wife and he was down and out, or a guy, you know, just got brought in from the court and he got 9 months and he's lost his job and everything.
Yeah.
You don't put those guys by themselves.
Right.
Because you'll find them in a bad position. Right. So you learn that stuff and you just learn because also it was your safety.
Right.
So if you didn't read this guy properly,
could get into trouble.
Yeah, and trouble's trouble, right? Because you're by yourself. And all you had was those 5 keys. So I fought for my life probably 5 times.
Really?
Like down and out. Guy came in with a loaded gun on a Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, loaded .357, and we struggled with him. And a guy with a razor blade that ripped my shirt off me. He was going to slit my throat, or anybody that was there. I was just the guy on duty.
Right.
But I would say 5 times I fought for my life, that I thought my life was.
I'm sorry to hear that. You must have been really good with those keys.
Well, 212, bing. I had that sucker open. So what was weird about it was that's when they built the remand center.
Okay.
And they came and they said, okay, Bernie, and there was 4 of us, right? I wasn't the only guard. There was 1 on every shift. And so they came and said, we're going to build the remand center. You guys will go work in the remand center in the basement whenever somebody is a fresh arrest, like a new arrest. And if there's no arrests or nobody there, then you get this car and you get these summonses and you can drive around town and pick, you got to go to court. And I hated it. So I thought the freedom And within like 30 days, I wanted my old jail back. Like I was institutionalized in a weird way.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember, and then they came up with, this was very bad, but they came up with this thing. Well, at night you can photocopy, because we work 12-hour shifts, midnights. So you got to go downstairs in this little room and photocopy all these old files.
Was it like a churn at that time?
No, we had electricity. We put it in the, is that what you meant?
Yeah, like, what did it look, was it like a modern photocopier?
The Gestetna? I don't know. It was a machine that, maybe not, microfilm. It was a microfilm machine.
Okay.
Sorry, that was my fault. And so we microfilmed all these files, like from back in who knows when.
And now we're doing the same thing, but digitizing.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
good for them. So I would sit in this room, and I mean, literally, I missed my jail. And I said to the staff sergeant one night, I remember Jerry Kostolansky, and he said, Leary, they called me Leary. He said, Leary, you know, I thought you'd be so happy being out of that jail. And I said, you know something, staff? I'm not. I miss it, and I miss it badly. And I said, I knew every inch of that place. I missed the inmates, because I always had a good, like the inmates that would come in, I always got along good with them. Yeah. And I learned young to respect them. And I mean, there was some horrible people that came through there, right? That, but a lot of it was, then there was no drugs. It was mostly alcohol and mental health. And we had a lot of mental health people, because Fifth North only had about 5 beds, right? And no security or none of that stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that probably today would be in the hospital, would be in the jail. So that was another facet of our, like, you know, you had to deal with people with mental health and people that go through detox. We had lots of people go through detox that today. And so one last story,
Okay.
because this isn't anything to do with you, but you're a very good listener, was when inmates would come in, and they would go through detox. Sometimes we'd take them up to the hospital, and they would get Valium and Ativan and whatever they had. But then when they would leave, we wouldn't let them leave with their narcotics or their pills, right? They'd have to go and get their own. And then if we had inmates who were being transferred to an institution, the institution looks after their pills. So we used to have all these pills, and we had this old tobacco jar. And we used to put all the pills in the tobacco jar.
Yeah.
This is a long time ago. If there's any statutes of limitation or anything, like, hopefully it's over, or else I'll go to jail for this. So then we used to get these guys that would come in that would go through withdrawal. And sometimes the sergeants wouldn't let us take them to the hospital. They had to sweat it out. And I knew some paramedics, and I had a couple of friends that were doctors, and I would phone them and say, like, this guy, like, is seeing stars. I remember one time going into a cell, and there was a guy yelled at me because I was stepping on his grandmother, and he was watching the hockey game, and there's no TV, and his grandmother wasn't there.
Yeah.
And he was just sweating. And that was when I was really young, and I didn't know what it was. And the staff sergeant came back and said, he's just going through DTs, let him sweat. And a lot of people get very ill and have strokes and have seizures. I saw lots of people have seizures. And I think we saved some lives. I really do.
That's amazing. It was the 70s, I guess.
Linnsie, it's okay.
I'm really glad that you were able to help those people.
I felt good about it, because one time I watched a guy in the drunk tank, and from the drunk tank you could see out to the foyer. And this guy, the sergeant wouldn't let us take him to the hospital. And he got so dehydrated. When his mom came to the window and he smiled, his lips cracked and blood came. And I would just feel so bad. And I tried to get water into him. And then what I finally did was I phoned one of my paramedic friends and said, come around to the back. And he said, okay, I'll come back. I'll come around. I'll bring an IV with me. But the sergeant just, he's a drunk. Forget about him.
Yeah.
And that used to really upset me.
That's disappointing.
So I did have a heart.
And still do.
Okay, we're done. Thanks. This was good. Anyways, Linnsie, sorry about all that trash. We didn't need to talk about that. But you're a good listener, and I like talking to you. So thanks for coming back to the porch, and this was good.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Okay.
Okay.